let's make an executive decision. Jim, why would the Tigers possibly trade Skubal?
So there's a couple reasons. First off, he's going into the final year of his contract. A lot of teams, especially like Detroit in that Central, they try to manage their payroll this way. Milwaukee did it a couple years ago with Corbin Burns as an example. Secondly, Scott Harris, their president of baseball operations, was asked today, would he consider trying to sign him to a long-term contract? He refused to answer it. The reason? Scott Boras represents him. Boras doesn't do deals like that. Very, very rarely, unless you're going to set a record. And I don't think Detroit can afford a record type of deal for Tarik Skubal, as good as he is. And then the third thing, he's had some nicks. Obviously he had Tommy John a couple years ago, and he had that little issue underneath his armpit. He didn't miss a start, but you start to get a little worried with guys that throw that high-end velocity. So I think there's multiple reasons why Detroit would consider a trade here.
All right, Jim, what would it take to get the Mets into the conversation?
Well, I just mentioned Corbin Burns. I mean, you have to go back to that. Garrett Crochet last year with the Red Sox, that deal, although Crochet didn't have anywhere near the innings and the hardware that Skubal has. So here's what it would get you in the conversation. I don't think it gets it done. It would have to be one of either Jet Williams or Carson Bench, probably pushing on Bench. Every team's asking for Bench right now. One of a Sproat or Tong, and then another prospect, like a Ryan Clifford, something along those lines. That would be similar to what the Brewers got in return from the Orioles, although it's a little heavier, I think, for Skubal than Burns, what the Orioles gave up, and understandably so. I mean, this was probably going to be the second Cy Young award for Skubal in a row, 2 years in a row. So, the price is going to be very, very high. I wouldn't do it. I'd keep Bowden, but I wouldn't pull him out of the trade necessarily. I would try to obviously negotiate it down, just stay on it until he trades him, or hopefully, he just keeps him. But it's going to be expensive. There's no way around it. And, those are some prospects that I think I would hold because I think they can help the major league team here in New York.
Yeah, Jim, I agree with you that it's going to really hurt if the Mets were to acquire a talent of this level. And look, the concept that you put out there, honestly, if I were the Mets, I would be on the phone trying to make this happen right now. And hopefully they are, to be quite honest, because I think the Mets are in a position where they need a frontline starter, your game one guy, a guy who can give you elite innings, and he's been over 190 each of the past 2 seasons. He's going to win the Cy Young Award. Again, these guys don't come along very often. And if you have to give up a couple of your best hopefuls, then I think you go ahead and do that. Garrett Crochet changed the entire arc of the Red Sox season this year and also got them into a playoff series, guys, where they had the Yankees by the throat. Now, they let them get away, but that's still, the point is here, Crochet was so dominant in that first start, and this is what Skubal can do too. Look, I know that the Tigers lost a few of the games that he started in the postseason this year, so it's no guarantee that you win series after series because you got this guy. But if you are putting together a win-now team, you have this kind of bell cow at the top of your rotation. So push the prospects to the middle of the table. Let's go!
Or if you don't want to give up prospects, you got more money than God as your owner. Why don't you just sign him as a free agent after the year, right? I mean, you don't have to give up anything potentially. Everything you said is spot on about Skubal. We know he's a little bit of a late bloomer, as Jim said, right? Never really fulfilled all the promise until the last couple of seasons, and he is, without question, the best pitcher in baseball. But think about, when you have that type of ace, and Anthony, you mentioned Garrett Crochet, he's been great for the Boston Red Sox, but when Jacob deGrom was the best pitcher on the planet with the New York Mets didn't really win anything, did they? Right? Philadelphia Phillies, when they traded for Roy Halladay, that was a team coming off back-to-back World Series. They never got to the World Series with Roy Halladay on their roster. You know what I'm saying? And even the Detroit Tigers the last couple of years with Skubal, they never even made it to the ALCS.
But thrifting the rotation hasn't worked for the Mets either.
No, it hasn't, but it's like, how much faith do you have, for example, in these youngsters? Like, do you think that Nolan McClain, for example, could develop into a frontline starting pitcher? And the other thing that I just want to throw into the conversation, if eventually you'd like to keep this guy around long term and you're going to have to pay him a lot of money, what is the labor situation in Major League Baseball going to look like in a couple of years?
Yeah,
will there be some sort of a cap?
I know that's a big deal, the labor issue. I can't get into that. I'm just trying to focus on trying to make this team the best it possibly can today. And as much as I'm always of the belief with you, McCarron, go get the player now. They need an ace. He's not just an ace. We just mentioned it before. Lindor, the dominant premier pitcher in the entire sport. However, I don't think that the Mets are one piece away right now. I can't justify, and I have no idea what Benj is going to be, or Clifford, or Jet Williams, and I don't think that giving up one or the other is a lot. I just can't justify giving all that up right now, knowing that it's not going to be the final piece. One, how does that improve their defense? You still got money tied up in Nimmo, in Lindor, in Soto, bringing back Alonso.